I think that fans of Dundee United Football Club, and that includes myself, have every right to be concerned about the current state and future of the club. Now, lately, Celtic Football Club fans have been very much online and doom and gloom talking about their team. Now, as I record this, they are on the precipice. They are almost there to winning the Scottish Premier League this season. For them to complain and moan as much as they are, is that a damning verdict of the current state of Scottish football? Perhaps, and maybe that's a topic for another time. But like I said, I want to talk about Dundee United Football Club. One of the sides certainly that has been involved in the Premier League and part of the biggest matches in Scottish football for well over 100 years now. Now, the current state of Dundee United Football Club is one for great concern for myself and my fellow fans, without a doubt. And obviously, before I go and talk about things, I want to kind of explain basically the state of the club, and that is that it is bottom of the Scottish Premiership and seemingly up for sale, and potentially, and I say this potential because it's not guaranteed really, but there is the potential, in my opinion, for administration in the future of the club, which is obviously not a great thing. Dundee United have had a terrible season. I've spoken to family, friends, different fellow football fans, and a lot of people agree that Dundee United is having one of its worst, if worst ever, seasons. Now, I know I'll say this right now, because a lot of our city rivals, fans, Dundee Football Club, have obviously jumped all over this with glee and made their comments. I would like to point out though, however, for around, I say 17, I believe the number quoted to me was about 17 seasons, Dundee have been in a lower league than United, and seemingly, because in my opinion Dundee United is going to be relegated, this will be, I'm reliably informed, the first time ever, and I mean very reliably informed, that this will be the first time ever that Dundee United has been in a lower league than Dundee. And certainly over 30 years, nearly 33 years of my support in Dundee United, it is certainly true. And I say I'm very reliably informed that is in fact a fact. So this will be the first time. So 17 consecutive seasons late in the last couple of decades, Dundee have been below us. So I would like Dundee fans to remember that fact. Now, Dundee United, like I said, I feel we are going to be relegated. We're 12th out of 12 in the Scottish Premier League. We are 11 points below the 11th place side Kilmarnock, who we face on the final day of the season actually, but I think that's a moot point. Dundee United have a terrible record this season, and some of the performances have been abysmal. I'm not a regular goer to Tannadice, the home stadium of Dundee United, or in Dundee United games. Mostly for financial reasons. I don't have a job and there's other financial commitments I've had to make, and that's maybe a point of I'll get to the finances about Dundee United and my concerns about that shortly. But Dundee United have had, the last game I went to was the game on October 18th, where Mixu Patalainen, our current boss, had his first game in charge, and to be honest, it was a terrible performance. I thought it was more like a youth team of United against the Premier side of Hearts. They really played horrible in that game, and I was hoping new manager syndrome, would really they'd want to push on, impress the manager, impress United fans, and hopefully, because already even a couple of months into the league, if we're that, we were starting to already being in trouble, and obviously it spiralled to the position we are in now. But it didn't happen on that day, and they put in a terrible performance. Now, I'm not going to say that every player throughout the season, throughout the games, has not put in a lot of effort, and I'm not going to go through individually, because like I said, I'm not been at every game, I'm not seen every individual performance, so I won't go through it. But there has certainly been people said to me about certain players that it's like they don't want to be there, they're not putting in the effort, they don't care, and various things about people's attitudes and things like that, which has all led us to the bottom of the table, to cut a long story short. And I'll give you a few of the statistics, because it is, for a club like Dundee United, I would say genuinely we are worth a well, we have been in years past, ever since I can remember, and long before that, we have been worthy of being a Premier League side. This season we have played terribly. And here are a few statistics to back up. This is the official league table. I took it from the BBC website, and I know it's exactly the same on the official websites. Dundee United have played so far, with 4 games remaining, 34 matches. We've won only 6, we've drawn another 6, and we've lost a total of 22 games. We've scored 34 goals, but conceded 61, leading to a goal difference, the highest minus goal difference in the league of minus 27. And we're sitting on 24 points. As I said, Kilmarnock are 11 points ahead of us on 35 points. And Kilmarnock only have 3 games left. They only need technically a point or two, literally a point or two, at least 2 points. I think 2 points will do it, because obviously it's 3 points for a win. 2 points will do it, and Kilmarnock will, I say, relatively be safe. I believe they will go into the playoff with the second place championship placed side. So Dundee United have got it all to do, and one of the things that concerns me about any chance of rescuing the season, although like I said, I believe I'm normally an optimistic person, I think it's out of our hands. It's a bit of a difficult situation for Dundee United. The final 4 fixtures are all played in the space of 12 days. We have tomorrow, as I'm recording this on Monday, on Sunday, the 5th of January, the 5th of April, even if I can even get it right. This is Monday, the 1st of April 2016. Tomorrow we play the first of our last 4 games, because we did not play on Saturday, which is why Kilmarnock have 3 games left and we have 4. We play our city rivals Dundee at Dens Park, which is obviously Dundee's home stadium. 7:45 kick-off. Unfortunately, if we don't win that game, that means we are relegated. Ironically, at the same place where we won the league in 1983. And of course, it's not good to be relegated, or to well, for whatever circumstances, where you fail to win, fail to get a point, or whatever the situation is, a city rival or local rivals' home ground, it's never very good. So we've got the game done against Dundee tomorrow at Dens Park. So it's a 7:45 kick-off. Then, just 4 days later, on Friday, we face another away game at Inverness. That's their Caledonian Stadium. We have the final home game of the season on the 10th, which is the following Tuesday, against Partick Thistle, home game at Tannadice, and then our last game, as I said, I think it's a moot point, Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. So an away game on the following Saturday, which is actually 12:30 kick-off. Now, the problem is with Dundee United, we are seriously screwing ourselves, and there is major problems in the club. I actually got sent a link last night. I think it's terracepodcast.net. There is a great kind of article by a guy called Stuart Milne. It's about who's responsible for what's happening at Dundee United. It's a very good read. It puts it probably more clearly than I could on this video, but certainly United are so up against it. Like I said, Kilmarnock really only need, I think, 2 points, and mathematically we can't catch them. And the way that Kilmarnock have been playing, I think that we will actually fail. I think Kilmarnock will keep their own fate in their hands, and whether they get relegated in the playoff, I'm really not sure that will happen. Like I said, the way they've been playing, although it's obviously possible. I certainly think it's probably out of hand. Unfortunately, Dundee United will get relegated. Now, it's a great shame that Dundee United are in this situation. Like I said, following this club throughout all my years, all my life, United have been a steady Premiership club. Apart from when we got relegated in the 94-95 season, we had a terrible season with Ivan Golak, who actually managed us to the Scottish Cup final. We had just a terrible season then, and we went down. Then we actually came back up, though. The following season, we jumped right back up. It was, I think they call it a helicopter Saturday. It was between us and Dunfermline, another Scottish side, to see who would actually win, then called the First Division, and obviously the winners of that division would automatically jump to the Premier League. We faced, I'm pretty sure it was Greenock Morton on that day. My uncle took me, and it was so close. I think we lost that game something like 3-2. It was so close. We scored like a couple of goals late on to try and rescue the game, but Dunfermline took I think the result of our game and what Dunfermline did ended up that meant that the league went to Dunfermline. We thankfully at that stage, because it's been off and on the playoffs in Scottish football over the years, we were able to, I believe I'm right in saying it was Partick Thistle. I may be wrong, but I got the feeling it was Partick Thistle. We took them on over a two-legged tie, and we won, and so we were able to get relegation, and then we returned to the Premier League, where we have been for the past, about 21 years now. Unfortunately, obviously, until probably Monday night, we will probably go back down. But it was just a great time. But it's such a pity that United have got, and then I'll get to the financial stuff in a minute. But Dundee United have always been a team, in my opinion, that has been always on the verge of doing so many great things. It's always been on the verge of seemingly pushing, to do great things. We've won a couple of cups. We won the 2010 Scottish Cup. We haven't won the league since 1983, but we have always seemed over the years right on the cusp of greatness and doing great things, and then our best players either leave, get sold, or something happens to them. We end up giving away our best players, basically, and being stuck with not our best players, and the structure, the squad, the way they play the team, it just falls. And I'm talking about guys like Barry Robson. Celtic he went to. I don't know, last season, Gary Mackay-Steven, he chose to leave. It really is, been such an annoyance for Dundee United fans for many years. The term isn't really used nowadays, but we used to call us in Aberdeen called the new firm. Of course, Glasgow and Celtic and Rangers are the old firm. We used to call the new firm because everybody thought, in the 70s and 80s, that certainly 80s more for United, certainly, that it would be that Scottish football would be dominated by four teams of Rangers, Celtic, Dundee United, and Aberdeen well into the future. But United have never been able to push themselves to really be a top of the table battling club, to battle for championships, to regularly contend finals, and go into Europe and battle the giants of Europe. We just haven't done it. Certainly over the last 30 years, since our kind of glory days of the 1980s, it hasn't happened. So they're really concerned about the club. Like I said, I'm not going to go into to players individually, because I've not been to all the games. Like I said, I've been hardly any games. I've not seen individual performance. Some of the players I've been told, some of them really do try. Some of them really give it 110%. But then I hear about others who just don't turn up for the games. They're there, but they just mentally don't turn up. They don't care, and they don't perform, which has led to the awful situation that we are in now. Financially, it's a horrible situation as well. One of the things that's really irked me and really annoyed me over the past several days, like I said, our current manager is Mixu Paatelainen. Our former manager, Jackie McNamara, and this has come out in the papers, this is public record, and I've had it suggested to me that Stephen Thompson, the owner of Dundee United, didn't know about it. He did know about it. He didn't tell the board about it. He knew about it. He didn't tell the board anything about it. That Jackie McNamara, when signing him a lot of players, and according to the United Wikipedia page, we have a total of 55 players, 55 squad players, including the development squad, which I think is a bit too much. Jackie McNamara did contracts which meant that players he signed, if they're sold on, say for instance a player signed by Jackie McNamara, and I can't remember the name that was quoted to me a while ago, but if that player is sold on for £2 million, Jackie McNamara gets 10%, that's £200,000 of whatever the fee is. To me that is ridiculous, because that is more money that the club will not see, more money that Dundee United could use to either restructure the club, support take down the deficit, invest in new players, young players that maybe could be better players, and just money that will not hit the club to be able for the club to use in any way, shape or form. Now the finances is a real bad place, because talking about it to a couple of people lately, it really, I've had a couple of sources, I've talked to a couple of people, and I really do fear that administration may end up happening for Dundee United way down the line. Now, I'll give credit where credit is due. The Thompson family, especially the late Eddie Thompson, he came in September 2002 and took over Dundee United Football Club. Who knows where United would be if the Thompson family didn't actually come in and buy the club? We don't know. Sadly, Eddie passed away in October of 2008 after a lengthy 5-year battle with, I believe it's pancreatic cancer. Very tough, very brave battle, and control has switched to his son, Stephen Thompson. Now, unfortunately, it seems that Stephen Thompson, although lately he said he's no longer taking his £100,000 wage, United has been running for many years at a loss, and from what I've heard, Stephen's reported from the financials, still operating at a loss, and that obviously cannot continue. Now, Stephen Thompson has said, I believe it was, just to I've got the timeline from the paper, the Courier paper here, April 26th, so just a few days ago, Thompson actually confirmed that he is willing to listen to offers for the club. Now, one of the things is that I've heard as well is that apparently Dundee United have offered, from December, they have been offering some of the players that signed 2-3 year contracts for guaranteed money, players that Mixu Paatelainen actually inherited, they've been offering them payoffs. So, X value of their contract. So I'm not involved. I'm not obviously in any way exposed to any of the finances of the club, but X obviously it must be an X amount of worth of your contract to walk away from the club. And from what I've heard, that has not been taken up. I don't believe by anybody. I know that Muirhead, one of the players, left a couple of days ago by apparently mutual consent. Whether that was him taking up the offer, I don't know. Certainly, it occurs to me that if any of these players were worth a while, and a lot of them are not, watching some of the performances on TV and so listening to the games normally on the radio, on BBC Scotland radio, if these players were worth or any good, they'd be showing on the park. And even if they were good but United needed rid of them for financial reasons, surely if they're that good, then another club would be more than willing to hire them, to take them on, pay, even if they take a little bit of a wage cut, because these footballers these days are, even Dundee United, they're on at least a couple of thousand a week, which is still really, really good money. I know people say, oh, well, football careers are short, but there's so many football clubs around the world right now. Surely if they were good enough, decent enough players, even if they were asked because of finances to leave United, surely if they're good enough, another club would be more than willing to step in and either buy them from United so United can get some money from them, like Gary Mackay-Steven when he decided he was going to leave. I believe it was Gary Mackay-Steven and I think it was Armstrong, certainly a couple of the players. I think it was in February they decided to leave, decided not to renew the contract, and United sold them so they'd get something at least for them. So I'm sure if they were decent enough players, then United could get some money, or a club would come in for them. Now, what needs to really be, I've heard the reports, United hemorrhaging money, United still operating at a loss, which is not sustainable. I used to work at a council-owned place run by Tayside Contracts. I used to do the meals on wheels called Tay Cuisine. To be honest, I can say that because it's public record. I've said it on here before. I did a video after I left talking about it, but that place was designed to operate at a loss in order to provide the service to the elderly and infirm, to provide their meals. Eventually, however, the council and Tayside Contract said enough is enough. We cannot continue to support it, and therefore cutbacks. Therefore, I lost my job, and God knows, who knows what state that place is in now. I don't know. I know they continue to deliver meals. I've seen the vans out and about, but and my mum knows people that still that received meals from them. But United is not backed by any council. They're not backed by any public. Well, they are publicly funded with fans buying their tickets and so forth, but they're not. They're not continually get a cash injection. And the Thompson family, a few months ago, towards the turn of the year, Stephen Thompson stated that the Thompson family cannot indefinitely sustain Dundee United. And looking at late Eddie Thompson's Wikipedia page, they estimate his fortune passing just upwards of £30 million. And obviously, United still operating at a loss. There's going to be a point where the Thompson family says we cannot put any more money into the club, which is where the serious financial trouble could come in for United, and the possibilities of administration. I was discussing that with a couple of people last night. Stephen Thompson right now is on the lookout overseas for investors or potential buyers. Now, here's what I think should happen, and a couple of good suggestions actually from people I spoke to last night. First of all, I think Stephen Thompson needs to actually sell the club. I think the Thompson family needs to sell the club. Again, I thank them for what they've done. They probably rescued United in 2002, but I think their resources are stretched. I've heard various things about Stephen Thompson's attitude and the way he does business that I can't confirm. I don't know whether it's true because I don't know the guy personally. The times I met him at a couple of United Open days, he's been okay to me. Had a bit of a conversation one time when he came into my former work, when he ordered a cake from them, and he came to pick them up. But I think the Thompson family, unfortunately, have done what they can do for United, and I think they're not willing or able to throw any more resources into the club, and the fear is that United really need to find somebody who can turn the finances of the club around. Because reportedly, according to the finances put out in public, United are still in debt to the tune of around about £2 million. Now, obviously, anybody that comes in and buys Dundee United will have to take on that deficit. United are not one of these kind of, because I've been watching those High Court enforcement programs lately. They're not one of the. We're not a place. United are not a place where they can just shut down and then set up a kind of a new company, a new business under a very similar name, and keep the stadium and keep all the players and keep all their assets. United is not. United obviously is no position to do that. And if they did do that, to be honest, we do what Rangers did when they supposedly a lot of different arguments about whether it's still the same club. To be honest, I feel it's not really, but Rangers dropped all through right down all the divisions of Scottish professional football, and only now have battled their way back up to the Premier League, where they'll start. I believe it's July or August. I'm not really sure what the schedule is due to I think it's the European Championship this year, or whatever it is. They'll start in the Premier League next season, or return, whatever. And I obviously that would happen to United, and that's nothing that I want to see happen. And if Stephen Thompson can't find somebody to invest or take over the club, United keep hemorrhaging money, will owe more money. I don't know how much is actually owed to the Thompson family. I've heard varying figures that's supposedly owed between the Thompson family. I know his sister, Justine Mitchell, resigned from the board. Again, I've got the timeline. I'll just double check. April the 17th, she resigned from the board. Now, there's varying reports about why she did that. Maybe unhappy of the way that things are happening in the board, and I've heard various things about the board being just yes men to Stephen Thompson and not really helping the situation. She said a statement that I can't remember what it's called, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway, the United put out. They said that she was going to concentrate on the women's team of United and the community relations and the community projects that United are involved in. Whether that's true or not, whether there's been some kind of bust up there, whether there's been some kind of disagreement or some kind of happening there, we can only speculate at this time. I don't think anything's really been reported. There may be something may have happened, something may not have happened, but certainly I believe that United need new ownership. They need somebody to come in to take it, because there's no point in. One of the things that's been suggested to me, and I actually agree with it. Thinking about it last night and most of today, it's been reported to me, or told to me, that there are strong suggestions that come the end of the season, any Dundee United player out of contract will be will not have any contract re-signed. So anybody out of contract at the end of the season will leave the club, and United will draft in some youth players to play in the first team, and obviously they'll play along whoever the remaining players are. Now, obviously, United have been so spotlighted over the decades when it comes to developing players, like you said, Scandinavian players, including Mixu Patalainen. Youth players, I honestly, with youth players and whoever remains after this season, I can strongly see, I really do think that we're going to struggle next season. Some fans are thinking that we'll immediately jump back up like we did last time, that we'll dominate the championship, and we'll be able to jump right back up to the Premier League. I feel that we will not do that. I fear that we are actually going to really struggle next season with the players that will be left, any youth players coming in, because that's one of the things. I mean, according to the Dundee United Wikipedia, like I said, according to the United Wikipedia page, we have 55 squad players, so we obviously need to get rid of some of those players, just purely for financial reasons as well. And we'll have to continue on with whoever is left. And one of the spotlights of Dundee United over the years has been developing players, but we have not done that in recent years. We've really not developed. There was, I think I mentioned earlier, the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. I think it's terracepodcast.net. There is a great article up there, like I said, by Stuart Milne, and it gives the figures that we've only featured a couple of players. Only a couple of players that United have developed have come into the first team as of late, and only had a few games between them, and a couple of them that have left. So United seriously needs to have a complete change of culture, a complete change of the way that the club is run. And I know Stephen Thompson said that there'll be a complete root and branch, I think is the term, is the saying that he used. Look at the running of Dundee United Football Club. Obviously it'll be after the close season now. But to be honest, I really do feel that again, the club needs to be sold to somebody else. Mixu Pataline, it's from all indications. Also, he's reportedly going to be sacked if and when relegation is confirmed, and that opens obviously up the question of who's going to be our manager, head coach, however they're going to term at this time. Who's going to be in charge of the first team? Who is going to be in charge every Saturday? That is one major question that will need to be answered as well. If they do get rid of Mixu Pataline, and I've heard actually from a couple of people that Mixu seems to be a decent guy, I know a lot of people are not happy with these tactics. Again, it's very difficult to judge, not actually seeing it every Saturday, and not knowing the guy personally. Obviously, he's got his hands tied a bit with these contracted players, and the money really not being there to bring in anybody else in before especially with not being, I don't think, able to be getting rid of people before he brings in new players, or tries to bring people, developing players in through the club. It's very difficult for me to judge what Mixu Patalinen's doing, and how his hands are tied in in his duties in the club. Who'd be willing, if they do get rid of Mixu Pataline, who'd be willing to actually step in to do the job? Who would actually be willing to step forward and manage Dundee United, or be the head coach, or be in charge of the first team? Who is going to be willing in the world of football to do that? I mean, we need. We should not. Certainly, United, in my opinion, and a lot of discussion about it when Jackie McNamara was sacked in September. I think it was September 26th. He got sacked. There was a lot of discussion about what type of person, a man probably, that would actually take charge of United. Whether we would prefer a guy with experience. We've kind of got that with Mixu Pataline, but that's not really worked out. Or do we want a young, untried, untested manager? Somebody who's maybe it's their first major appointment. Still relatively young as a football manager, relatively inexperienced. I really don't think that would help United in the situation. I think United needs somebody at least who knows what they're doing. At least a decently experienced manager, even if it's their first appointment, but somebody who's been involved in decent clubs And we definitely, on my opinion, we do need another owner, because if Stephen Thompson, again, who's going to, is there somebody out there who's going to take the chance, who's going to take the risk of investing in Dundee United Football Club? Because if Stephen Thompson can't find somebody, if nobody comes forward to invest in Dundee United Football Club, how long can the Thompson family sustain these losses? How long can Dundee United? That's a serious question that I think will come up in the next couple of months. How long can the financial situation at the club remain stable before such a thing as the threat of administration rears its ugly head? I don't think it'll be too long. I don't think even possibly be till the end of next season that we may be able to survive financially without somebody majorly either coming to invest, or I think, to be honest, somebody would have to come in and buy the club. And obviously, you're talking a good few £1 million that would have to be spent, taking over the deficit. Even if Stephen Thompson sells the club for a nominal fee, like £1 or £2, like kind of like the Dundee City Council did when they bought the ship Discovery. They bought it for, I think it was like 1 pence or 2 pence, because of a few laws. I think BHS, British Home Stores, was the same when it got sold about a year ago. They had to pay a nominal fee, which is £1. I think it's £1 now, actually. I think some law about some like token fee. Whoever comes in, even if they pay a nominal fee of like £1 or a couple of pence, whatever it is, just to take it off Stephen Thompson, the Thompson family's hands, they will need to invest some serious money in the restructuring and reorganisation of the club. Certainly, it's a very, very serious situation. I'm not looking forward to seeing the next few months and seeing how it goes. There are people at the club who care. Like I said, that's kind of my sources, and I was, speaking to a few people. I know a few people that have been kind of involved at the club over the years. I know that there are people there with the United Business Club, with Dundee United, staff. There are people who have been involved who genuinely care about the club. Unfortunately, the ones who genuinely care about the club and really want to try and help turn things round, they don't have the resources to do it. We desperately need somebody to come in and do that. And again, it's a situation. Who will that person be, and how will the person be? Because it could be very easily that somebody comes in, buys the club, but are they really caring about the club? I know Stephen Thompson has said that he wants to make sure that any deal is the right deal for Dundee United and its fans, but his hand may be tipped. He may have to eventually, if somebody comes and says, I want to buy the club, I'm not really a football fan, but I've got a lot of money, he may just have to sell. He may be in a position where he just has to sell the club, because he can't really he can't support the club for any longer. He's reached his limit. And as I said, I've heard a few things about it's one of the sad bits, because I've heard a lot of negative things over the past season or so about the attitudes, about the conditions of some people at the club, and about how they work and their methods of doing things, which is obviously all contributed to a very, very sad situation at Dundee United. And my hope is that we do get good investment, we do get somebody in that cares for the club, we do get the right people in that will push the club forward, that will actually do well and get us on a firm footing and be able to push the club forward to where it deserves to be. United, for many, many years, has deserved, in my opinion, to be a near top of the table, at least top half of the table Premiership side. The fact that we are not going to be doing that, as I said, for the next couple of years, I can see us struggling, is such a great shame for such a great club that's always been on the cusp of great things. I honestly think over the next couple of years, if there's not a huge change of the culture and the atmosphere and the working message at Tannadice, United are going to be in for some serious trouble and a very troubling period in its future, which I genuinely hope that we can come through it. I genuinely hope that we can one day step out of the mire that we have bogged ourselves down in. But certainly something major needs to change, and I think that the fans, because I like the fans to continue to support the club. I know that a lot of people who go every week have had enough, and I can't blame them. And it's up to every individual what your breaking point is. I can't determine that, but certainly if there's not a complete overhaul in the culture, the atmosphere and the working message of Dundee United Football Club, then boy, we are in some major serious trouble.